Joining me this afternoon is Vice Admiral Robert Empedrad, a distinguished naval officer who served as Flag Officer in Command of the Philippine Navy and who is today the administrator of our Maritime Industry Authority, MARINA, our flag state administration. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, sir.
We've just heard from Undersecretary Beltran about the fairly rosy outlook on the Philippine economy. And from Marina's perspective, how does that play out in terms of your own strategic plans?
I think that's a great question. And if you look at the Maritime Industry Authority, strategic plan, we have crafted the Maritime Industry Development Plan. It's a 10-year plan, and this was published in 2018. However, it's still being studied by NEDA. It should be approved by the President so that we can get the funds to move forward in the development of our Maritime Industry Development Plan. But as of this moment, it's still with NEDA. But I think the bright side will always be our seafarers because we are still the #1 producing seafarer in the world.
Yes.
And in spite of the pandemic, if you look at our deployment of our seafarers in 2020, where the pandemic is it's just came about, we deployed around 50% of what we used to do to deploy. But if you look at the remittance of our seafarers in 2019, they remitted 6.5 billion. In 2020, 6.3 billion. It's just a shortage of 200 million. Because even though the cruise line were not operating, our seafarers are still there. And what we did is to extend their certificate so that they continue to be working with the cruise line. Our Filipino seafarers.
So even if we've lost about 20 months, you feel that the Philippines can still continue to be a seafaring capital of the world?
Yes, sir. We are still the #1. I think based on our report, the ship owners wants still the Filipino seafarers to be employed by them.
You know, we for many years the Philippines has played an important role, and we've been lucky to have the quality people who have been able to find that kind of a job overseas. But let's look ahead. From your perspective, having been a Navy man yourself and been involved as a mariner for many, many years, how difficult will it be for us to find the next generation of Filipino who wants to go to sea? Yeah,
we have to make some adjustments in the way we train our future seafarers because what we are doing in the country is they have to go through a 4-year baccalaureate course that include the OBT. But what we are planning to do now with Marina is we remove the OBT from the MECHI.
The onboard training.
The onboard training.
But what you're saying is that you will complete the academic requirements, allow the individual to graduate with a degree, but they still have to complete the onboard training at some point in time in order to get their license. Is that correct?
Yes. If we just parallel this to the Philippine Military Academy. Then I chose to join the Philippine Navy. Then the Philippine Navy trained me to be a qualified Navy officer.
That's the only time you got marinized. What you're saying is that during the formal academic period, you will concentrate on the academics. But how will you be able to introduce potential mariners to what life at sea is like, or how do you get them even semi-marinized? What do you have in mind?
That's a good question, sir. The OBT will be replaced by simulators and practical exercises related to maritime. So
they'll have a glimpse. They'll have a glimpse of what it's like.
So that when they graduate and they will go aboard ship, the principal owners or the ship's owner will see the difference that these graduates will be better than the previous one.
And when do you envision this program to take effect?
We are coming up with a new curriculum with SHED. And we will implement the first-year program, the first-year level. The second-year level will be in 2023 and 2024. and then and the third year level, and then the fourth year level, probably in 24 to 25. If this will be this will materialize, then we have a new curriculum. The MHAI will graduate students, and then when they graduate, they have those who wants to be officers aboard ship. They have to undergo OBT. That will be managed by Maritime Industry Authority before we give the licenses, and they will be sent. And they become seafarers.
Undersecretary Beltran talked about the need to develop able-skilled seafarers or maritime professionals. How difficult do you think it will be for us to create the able-skilled individual as opposed to the able-bodied individual of before?
Well, I don't think it's difficult, sir, because we have competent maritime training institution to do that. When they graduate, the MARINA will focus on the competence of our seafarers. Then we will deal with the maritime training institution. That's where we will focus. And I think we don't have to reinvent the wheel, because we have good maritime training institution that can help MARINA to develop competent seafarers.
And this recalibration, if you will, of the academic program, how does that fit into the overall STCW convention?
Yeah, we are still compliant to STCW convention, because what makes us involved in the baccalaureate degree is the OBT. So when you remove the OBT from the baccalaureate degree, then MARINA can focus on the seafarers, because they will become only seafarers when they are given the licenses. So MARINA will be deeply involved in the conduct of OBT.
So what we're really saying is that the academic institutions will concentrate on developing and delivering an academic program.
Yes.
You will take out the requirement of onboard training from the educational institutions, but it remains a requirement in order to get the license.
Yes.
And that 12-month period, or in some cases it might even be 18 months, that is where MARINA will focus to ensure that the output, if you will, the outcome of academic education can really be shown and demonstrated.
And we are confident that we produce a better and competent Filipino seafarers.
Well, I'm sure that will be an interesting topic that will be taken up in various fora, and maybe in the question and answer period later. I'm sure some people would like to maybe probe a little bit more about that. But how about the student themselves? What can MARINA do, or is it in MARINA's plan anywhere, to see how you attract the best and brightest because of the next generation of Filipinos? Because after all, many industries are looking for good talent. And so the maritime industry itself will be hard pressed, I think, to find the kind of people who would like to go to sea. Is there any program, is there anything that you're doing to try to attract these next generation of individuals?
Yeah, I think Filipino loves to go to sea because we are a maritime nation, and our maritime heritage says that Filipino wants to go to sea. That's why if you look at our students, the number of joining the maritime higher education, it's big. It's a big amount, big number. 25,000 are wants to be seafarers. But I think we don't have to ask them to join the maritime, the seafaring industry, because it's in our blood. We love the sea. I think the Filipino people love to go to sea.
One of the challenges I think we see overall is that oftentimes the general public, or maybe even government, certainly not MARINA, but other sectors of the government, don't really fully understand the way the shipping industry and its nuances. What has MARINA planned in its strategic view on how to get the local environment more attuned to the importance of the maritime industry?
Yeah, sir, we are a maritime nation. I mean, we have 7,600 islands. And some of these islands cannot be reached by land or by air because there are no airports in all our islands. And I believe that the future of our country is to develop our maritime industry for the progress and economic progress of our country. When goods are moving from one island to the other in a quickest possible way by ships and by putting up ports, then I think it will be good for the economy and for our country, because goods will reach the remotest place of our country. I think we have to develop our infrastructure, the efficiency of our ports. So I think we have to develop our
A
infrastructure.
more comprehensive plan.
Yes.
And is this part of your 10-year? MARINA has a 10-year strategic plan.
Yes, sir. The 10-year strategic development plan has 9 priority projects, programs. So that includes the shipping industry, the flag registry, our seafaring industry, the shipbuilding industry is also involved here.
Sure.
Yes,
But, you know, the contribution of the maritime industry, I think there was an economic study that back in 2015, the maritime industry contributed about 6% of GDP in the Philippines.
Yes.
And some economists think that this could be double or even triple that amount if the whole integration of everything that you talk about come into being.
Right.
And what else do you think is necessary in order to ensure that this kind of a plan can actually come to fruition? Hopefully more representation of the maritime industry can come back. We are coming up with our national elections in 2022.
Yes, sir.
And hopefully you will get the kind of representation from the sectoral side that will help you in moving this program forward.
Sure.
Well, let me go back to this talk of education, because our audience here at CrewConnect, a lot of them are very, very keen on the development of a Filipino maritime professional.
Yeah.
And it's one of the biggest challenges that the Philippines has faced, or maybe what I would call a shadow, has been the concern of EMSA over the past years. And interestingly enough, when you came on board, 2 things were happening.
Yes.
You came on board this was in
March 16.
March of last year, of 2020. EMSA was in the Philippines at that time finishing their audit. And that weekend passed, and on Tuesday, the government shut down the whole country.
Yes.
So you've been administrator of MARINA for 570 or so days.
Yes, 19 months, sir.
And tell us, how has it been, and how is it in terms of dealing with this EMSA issue?
Yeah, it's really very tough, sir, because when I assume, as you said, it's the president declares a quarantine for the entire country, and our employees has to stay home. And how can you lead if your employees is not with you? That's very challenging as far as the administrator is concerned. But as far as EMSA is concerned, the thing, sir, is EMSA started to inspect us in 2006. And then they came over to see our compliances to their findings several other times until 2018, I think 8 times. And then in 2020, they went back just to verify our compliance. And maybe they will decide after that audit. But they found out that there are more findings that were seen by the audit team before. This is now the strategic action plan that I'm going to do over a period of 19 months, as you said. And one problem is that the MARINA did not involve our stakeholders in addressing the findings.
In the past?
In the past.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to blame anyone else. But the stakeholders are asking MARINA to let them be involved in addressing the measures. So twice we opened the findings to our stakeholders. They were involved in 2 workshops to address the findings. And then we subjected our corrective action, it's a strategic corrective action, to them to tell us if they are satisfied and if there is something that they would add to the findings. And so we integrated all these comments and the advice and the inputs of our stakeholders. Now, we will be coming up with a primer, a strategic action plan, a comprehensive one, which has never been done before. And this is the product of not only the MARINA, but the entire industry of the country. So, but the update on the EMSA is we have yet to receive the assessment report of the European Committee. So the European Committee, regardless of we substantially address the findings or not, will issue a negative report, which is withdrawal.
Oh, they will issue a negative. You feel that they will issue a negative report?
They will, because they did not require MARINA to submit our corrective action.
Okay.
So they will decide without the corrective action of the Maritime Industry Authority. Then they will give us 2 months to submit our action plan or corrective action plan. And then eventually the final decision will be made by the safety of sea of Europe, the European countries. And they will decide based on if we were able to address the findings based on our strategic action plan.
And where are you in terms of putting together the comprehensive response to this audit?
Yeah, based on our assessment and the assessment of our stakeholders, I think they are happy in what we have done. I think we believe that the safety of sea will eventually decide in favor of the Filipino seafarers.
So you're unfazed. You're unfazed with the challenge. I mean, and the possibility that we will get a negative response.
Yes, yeah. I believe with all my heart and very confident that we will the safety of sea will overturn whatever decision the EC will.
Well, you know, when you talk of stakeholders, I mean, we do have the local stakeholders, but we have very much our foreign partners, the Japanese, the Norwegians, the Greeks, the Dutch, all of the different countries. And how have they been able, or what kind of dialogue have you had with them in terms of addressing these particular concerns? Because I believe for the most part, the anecdotal evidence is that Filipinos are very good seafarers, are good maritime professionals, and are still in demand. But yet, because we operate in an ISO environment, then it's very clear that all of this documentary evidence needs to be put in place. But so how has it been in terms of dealing and discussing with our partners, our international partners, particularly from Europe?
We have someone in Norway, Per Arns. I know you know Per Arns. We hire him as our advisor. So he continuously give us advice on how to deal with EMSA. He's an expert by his own right. And we continue to engage the IMO. Whatever we are doing as far as the EMSA is concerned, we involve the IMO. In fact, in the past 6 months, because one of the findings is our audit personnel are not capable, are not capacitated. So we requested IMO, experts from IMO, to do training to our audit team. So the IMO already have done 2 training. On the assessment and on the entire the maritime industry aspect, and then so we did that already. And in this month, the IMO will be coming back to train the trainers. They are saying train the trainers on the curriculum development. So we are involving the IMO and our and we keep on, and we also involve ourselves with our counterparts in the maritime industry. For example, in Singapore, Indonesia, I have been meeting with them as far as vaccination of seafarers and other engagement that involves our compliance to the STCW Convention.
And when you think about all of that, the responsibility you have as administrator to ensure that the compliance, the studies, and the responses are given, you feel that we will ultimately still be able to retain a positive response?
Yes, sir. I believe the safety of sea will overturn the decision of the EC.
And why is that? What is it that you think, what will be the overriding reason why they may overturn a possible negative finding?
Because of how we comprehensively address the findings. We created the task group and look into the root cause analysis. This was never done before. And look at systems and procedures and quality procedures. I think we look into the aspect of even beyond EMSA. I think we will submit a report that is even beyond what EMSA is requiring us to do.
But beyond the report, I mean, ultimately what the auditors are looking for is the implementation, so the effective implementation across. How can you assure that from MARINA's perspective, and how can you assure that, say, as the administrator, that in fact what we say we will do, we will be able to do?
Yes, indeed, sir, because the report will also include our factual evidence. If this has been implemented.
So after, say, almost 14 years of a very challenging discussion with EMSA, in the last 19 months, you feel you have been able to take the bull by the horns
Yes.
and now can come up with a comprehensive response which will satisfy EMSA.
Yes, very confidently. There has never been report in the past, a comprehensive reports that will address EMSA. It's only now that we are coming up with a primer, and more importantly, all the stakeholders are involved. It's not just Marina; it's everyone's effort.
Well, this is going to be a continuing effort. This is not a
Yes.
one-off. And in fact, perhaps it's good that you have a extra set of eyes and ears from outside. Because at the end of the day, what is core and what is key to the maritime industry is safety. And ensuring safety. So yeah, that will be good. And I guess time will tell. But we're very hopeful that you are able to deliver on this, because I guess the entire maritime industry is resting its future on the Philippine government's ability to comply.
Oh yes, sir. I'm very happy that what we did in the past 19 months is we regularly talk with our stakeholders on a regular basis. Not only in the shipbuilding, but even the domestic ship, the LMAs, the seafarers themselves, the schools, the training institution. We regularly meet with them, so that and to get their inputs on how we move forward, because these are the experts.
Yeah.
And this has not been done before.
It's interesting. You talk about the domestic shipping industry.
Yeah.
How can you get the domestic ship owners and the domestic shipping industry to support everything that you're doing in order to be able to create a good, strong platform for the future development, not only of shipping operations, but really more importantly, our maritime professionals?
Yes, sir. We are currently studying the OBT aboard our domestic ships. We'll be coming up with a Marina circular on this one. And we involve them in crafting the OBT MC. So we have to enhance our MC, that we will ensure that when the cadets are aboard our domestic ships, they will be trained based on the STCW convention, based on the MC that we are coming up.
One of the things that will be very important is the ability to continue to carry on and follow through.
Right.
We're coming up with our national elections in 2022. What can Marina do to sort of institutionalize a lot of the changes that you feel are very important, so that as the administration changes in 2022 and beyond, that we can still keep many of the good things that you've been able to get started so far?
Yeah, that's a great question, sir. First, the MIDP is here. I would like it to be approved by the President.
The MIDP is
the Maritime Industry Development Plan.
Yes.
This is a 10-year plan.
Yes.
If this is approved by the President, then there is an institution that we will just follow. And internally in Marina, we are coming up with the performance governance system, just like what we did in the Philippine Navy, to institutionalize all the things that we'll be doing, so that whenever the administrator is replaced, he will just do what is stated or what is placed in the voyage plan of the Philippine of the Marina, a voyage plan which is linked with the MIDP. So that when I step down, the person that will replace me will just execute what is in the voyage plan in the MIDP.
When we think about all of these particular plans, one of the things that strikes me is our ability to carry forward within the organization of Marina. What are you doing to try to attract the kind of talent that is necessary in order to allow Marina to be an effective organization, not only locally but internationally, because of all of the changing governance rules? Yeah,
it's very challenging because the maritime industry has grown so much, and the Maritime Industry Authority remains as it is. There is no additional personnel.
Is that part of your MIDP, to be able to grow Marina or to enhance?
No, sir. I have a 10-point agenda as the administrator. One is to strengthen our organizational structure and the capacity of our personnel. We had a study with the Development Academy of the Philippines to transform our organizational structure. This has already been approved by the Department of Budget and Management, increasing our personnel fill up from 800 to 2,200. That's an additional 1,500. And the intent of this is to strengthen our regional office so that they do the regulatory function and the development of our industry. Not what we are doing today, that everyone is going to the central office,
You've decentralized a lot of the functions.
Yes. So we have to increase the manpower personnel of our MRO and capacitate them. And then to capacitate our personnel, we did some memorandum of agreement with WMU that offers a master's degree for maritime. And then we'll continue to train our personnel. We hire, we train, we capacitate ourselves.
With all plans, all good plans,
Yes,
something could possibly go wrong and still go wrong.
Yeah.
Have you thought about how to try to overcome continuing challenges and what could possibly go wrong with trying to get the whole MIDP, the 10-year plan going effectively?
First, the quality procedure should be in place, and then instill it in our personnel. They should internalize the quality procedures and put some pride in themselves.
When you took office, you actually faced the MARINA staff and you challenge them to improve performance and ensure that all of the negative press could go away. How bad was the situation when you took over, and where do you see it now, 19 months later?
Our brand of service is selfless, and but I don't know if you are a religious person, but I always quote a verse from the Bible whenever I talk to them. To encourage them to do the right thing, to instill with them the discipline and professionalism in doing their job. And I think they are listening to me, they're following my lead, and I'm very happy.
Well, congratulations, Administrator. I think that's really good to be able to try to instill discipline. And with an ever-changing situation, it's always difficult. So if you can get into the heart and soul of people and give them that kind of mindset to be service-oriented, that's really what we all are looking for. But let's talk about this mindset and let's talk about service, because the last 19 months of your tenure, you were faced with a tremendous problem, the crew change crisis. How did you see that all evolve? What were some of the challenges you faced, and how did you finally try to get ahead of it? I mean, I know even today we're still facing the major crisis because the pandemic is still around us.
When Secretary Tugade met with the IMO, there was a meeting before with the IMO Secretary Kita Klim in one engagement. He mentioned that the opening up of our ports for crew change makes our country an international port for crew change, international hub for crew change. And he even mentioned to the Secretary General that the ports will stay, even in a post-pandemic situation. The ports will remain to be a crew change ports for all seafarers or ships that want to do crew change. So we open up our ports, and that's a good move as far as our country is concerned. But with the ever-changing protocol of the pandemic, like for example, what is happening is our seafarers from Netherlands cannot come home because of the protocols that are put in place.
The red listing.
Yeah, right. The red listing. I think there is a venue wherein we can open up to our Secretary of the Department of Transportation, because he's the one in charge with the crew change of the Filipino seafarers, the deployment and employment, and then he can open this up to the IATF so that whenever we come up with protocols, they will exempt our seafarers from the ever-changing protocol because if you do not exempt our seafarers, then it's very expensive to maintain seafarers because the ship owners are complaining they cannot bring down our seafarers because they will stay in a hotel and very expensive to manage them. So I think to be able to maintain our being number one, a seafaring producing country, we have to be more strategic in coming up with protocols to exempt our
and maybe
seafarers.
Once these protocols are established, to try to build some consistency in their applications, even as the environmental situation changes. And hopefully you can continue to carry the flag for not only the Philippine industry, but really the whole global industry who is reliant on Filipinos is really in need of ensuring that the continuous facilitated movement of Filipino seafarers can take place.
You're right, sir. So it's just a matter of telling or reminding our the IATF that when we come up with instilling them the need to exempt our Filipino seafarers with these ever-changing protocols.
I know it's difficult, but I hope that you can continue to carry that that message because if there's anything, you talk about stakeholders, and I believe we are all in one, that during this pandemic, what really allowed the global economy to continue to evolve was really the fact that the shipping industry continued to operate. And if it weren't for the sacrifice of seafarers all over the world to continue to remain on duty and on board, I think we would have had a more serious situation, economically speaking. So anything that MARINA can do in this regard I've been sure would be well appreciated. And I'm sure maybe in the question and answer period that will follow, some questions will probably be posed on that, and maybe you can continue to carry, as I said, the flag for the industry.
And if I may add, sir, when we open up our ports for crew change, lots of ships came over to the Philippines to do crew change, and that allows us to bring home our overextended seafarers aboard their ship to come home to their family. And when the ships are coming here, of course they will say, why don't we look for other seafarers when we have the Filipino seafarers? So it helps. Yes.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, your efforts in terms of creating these green lane protocols was also helpful to foreign seafarers. Because it allowed any maritime professional to be able to move.
We were the one to convince IATF to
give them the highest priority.
So that's happened, but the LGU does not understand. So we came up with the TWG to help in the vaccination of the seafarers and to strategically communicate to LGUs that, hey, you have to prioritize our seafarers. And that did wonders. The collaboration between stakeholders and MARINA. And in July, September, and now October, you talk about 4 months later, we have still enough vaccines, but we cannot find seafarers anymore to be vaccinated.
Because
I think
they've mostly been vaccinated.
Yes, and the reports of the LMAs to me, one LMAs has reported to me that they have vaccinated 98% of their seafarers. But we don't have the numbers because when they are vaccinated by the LGUs, they don't inform us. So, but based on our data, when we do vaccination in AMOSUP, in various LGUs, we have limited seafarers, and more often than not, the vaccines that are allocated for that day for the seafarers are being jobbed to the other essential workers of the maritime industry, like the LMA employees, the shipbuilding, and the domestic ships.
Well, it's good that the vaccines are here. We now have a lot of supply in the Philippines, and we need to continue to push this. In fact, the government is now talking about booster shots.
Yes, sir.
How about foreign seafarers, foreign maritime professionals coming through? Would they be eligible to receive a vaccine if requested?
I think there is no reason why we cannot allow that, sir. But I'll discuss this with the Department of Health. I think there's no problem. We have enough, and telling them that our Filipino seafarers are also vaccinated by other countries when they are aboard their ships.
So let me ask you this, Administrator. What have you learned from the last 19 months when it comes to these 99-year events, which are never really expected? Because you have to look at business continuity planning. I know you have a 10-year strategic plan. Have you built into that business continuity so that if ever a 99-year event happens again, we will be better prepared?
Yes, sir. I realized when I assumed as the administrator after 19 months, or even a year earlier, I realized the importance of the maritime industry in the progress of our country, the future of our country. And I think we failed to maybe educate or tell our leadership, our political leaders, how important the maritime industry in the progress of our country. There is no progressive, you can find any progressive country that has weak maritime industry. I believe with all my heart that if we have a progressive maritime industry, it will make our country very progressive.
So let me go back to that 10-year strategic plan. Yes. Where in there are the elements to allow for a more progressive maritime industry and a vision which you can say the blue economy, the blue Philippines?
Right. Yeah. There are 9 priority programs of the MIDP, and it pertains some studies on how to develop the trade, how to modernize our shipbuilding capability, how to make our domestic ships more competitive, how to make our seafarers more competitive. There are programs in each of the priority programs. There are 9 in each of the priority program, and there has to be a budget for the continuing study as stipulated in the MIDP for us to move forward. And I believe the MIDP is a product of the whole maritime industry. Even the other government sectors were involved in the crafting of the MIDP. So if we just execute what is stipulated in the MIDP, I think there is no reason for us not to progress in our industry.
Do you think that in the remaining term of President Duterte that you will be able to get the 10-year plan approved?
Yes, I will do this.
And you have the support of the Department of Transportation for this?
Yes, actually, sir, the Secretary has supported the Maritime Industry Development Plan. But it's being studied by NEDA before it will be approved by the President. And we are following that up with MARINA. And hopefully, before the end of the President, that's already been approved.
Okay. Well, that will also be very, very good. Yeah. Do you have any message for our audience today? There are various stakeholders here, and what kind of a message would you like to share with them, given the fact that, on the one hand, the anecdotal evidence of the quality of maritime professionals from the Philippines is very high. Yeah. But of course, the environment has always proven to be challenging. You talk about the EMSA issue, you talk about bottlenecks in the way the system has been set up, but you have done a lot and you've done wonders to be able to try to streamline all of that, and all under a time when not everybody was at the office. I mean, a lot of it was work from remote locations. So what message would you like to share with our audience today to continue to encourage them to look at the Philippines as a seafaring capital, to look at the Filipinos as the seafarer of choice, notwithstanding these challenges? Administrator, please.
There is a report from BIMCO that says we will be lacking 30,000 something officers in the future. But the Filipino seafarers are here. They are competent and they are well prepared. They are ready to go back to the sea. And if you lack seafarers, you come here to the Philippines and we'll provide you with good and quality, capable, competent Filipino seafarers, which we always we're always number one on that aspect.
But how about MARINA? How else can MARINA present itself to say that you're open, not only open for business, but you are there to try to facilitate the way business is carried out and will be carried out?
Yes, sir. It's important that we change some laws to make our industry moving forward. And the other one is we will continue to engage and collaborate with our stakeholders. We will continue to meet with them regularly and maybe ask them what should be done for our industry to move forward. I think that's one of the salient features of my administration is when we get some insight and expert advice from our stakeholders.
Did you act on it?
Yes, and then we act on it. And then the next time that we meet again with them regularly, they even follow up what we have done. And
do you welcome visitors from other countries to come and exchange notes with you?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I will be going to London for our candidature.
Yes.
In December, and I will be meeting with my counterparts.
Yeah, maybe that's a good opportunity for you to reinforce, especially all the work that you've done to address the concerns raised by EMSA, because at the end of the day, that is perhaps the most pressing of the challenges.
Yes, sir, if I may add, I would like to assure our audience here that when we submit our strategic action with EMSA, we will get a favorable response. And we will continue not only to address the finding of EMSA, to raise the standards of what we are doing to be compliant always to the STCW Convention.
Before we end, Administrator, let me just go back to something that Undersecretary Beltran talked about, which is before the Philippines entered this pandemic, it was lucky enough that its balance sheet was strong.
Yes.
It had sufficient cash, it had sufficient reserves. Never before in our country's history have we had as high a level, which last month reached over $108 billion in reserves. So the position, the fiscal position coming in was good, which allowed them the leeway to stimulate the economy during the darkest moments of the last 20 months. But his message was, the government has done what it can. It's now up to the line agencies like MARINA and the private sector to do what it can to be able to create the next wave of growth.
Right.
How would you like to address that to our audience as well, and in terms of what we need to do and to make that a really strong rallying point?
Yes, of course, we continue to be the #1 producers of seafarers. And the other one is how do we develop our domestic ships? You know, there are so many things to be done, like improving the efficiency of the turnover of ships when they come here. How long can they unload their
so
cargoes?
The port infrastructure.
Yeah, the port infrastructure and the connectivity to the land. And then the efficiency of the ports. We need to connect our islands through ports and ships, making sure that we have ships that will serve the routes that we thought to be important to our trade. And so if we connect our islands with ships and ports, and the goods can travel quickly. You know, I listened to one interview of one maritime expert when he said that what we are doing is we connect islands by building bridge, and thinking that when we transport the cargoes, the container vans through truck, it's more expensive than to deliver the container vans through ships. So what we are doing is we try to connect our islands through building bridge.
The nautical highways.
Yes, instead of building ports, make it efficient so that ships can use it for the speedy movement of our cargo, that will help in our economy. So if we develop our flag registry, we increase our those who will be enlist our flag registry, you increase employment of our seafarers, you increase the profitability of our shipyards, and then the domestics, the indirect costs when ships are here, all the requirements, the logistic requirements goes to our economy. So I think we just have to connect all the dots. the flag registry, the domestic ship, the shipbuilding, the transshipment.
It's all there.
It's all there. It's all in our maritime industry development.
The maritime industry is definitely an industry that can enable so much.
Yes.
And as we like to think, it moves the world.
Yeah.
And we're also grateful to all of our maritime professionals, particularly Filipino maritime professionals, for their sacrifice, their service,
Yes.
which effectively moves the ships. And if you move the ships, you move the economy. If you move the economy, you are moving the world. So I'd like to thank you,
Yes,
Administrator, for joining me this afternoon. It's been a very, very interesting and insightful discussion. You've been very frank and clear about the different challenges that you faced. You are meeting the EMSA issue head on, and as you have told me on several of the discussion points, that you're very confident that notwithstanding the challenges, that we will ultimately get a favorable response. And I think having confidence is very, very important, and projecting this kind of confidence is also important to our audience. The last 19 months have been very, very difficult. I mean, I could never have imagined that we would have lived through all of this. Knock on wood, we're still here, going strong. And thank you very much for your service. Thank you very much for all that you do. It's a thankless job in many respects, and it's never over. I think everything that you've enumerated to me, I'm just tired listening to the fact that we still have to do this. And so I want to continue to encourage you to do what you can. And I'm sure that in the question and answer portion, there will be several questions that we will try to address. Thank you very much, Administrator.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you very much again to our global audience.